The first ever journalist on the throne, Letizia of Spain.
The United Nations predictions about her health are indeed worrying.
Now the newspapers are writing about her, a true queen of the 21st century, one who's not afraid to speak her mind. The Zarzuela Palace on the outskirts of Madrid, a sort of corporate office for the Spanish royal family. Queen Letizia calls for a meeting in her office. Today they're preparing for a trip to Mozambique. 6 weeks after the devastating hurricane Idai left hunger, disease and hundreds of dead in its wake, she's paying the African country a visit on behalf of the government. The Queen and the Development Agency work out the details together. Her trip will take her into the disaster zone around the port town of Beira. She meets aid workers and visits a Spanish field hospital for humanitarian emergencies. Following in her wake, a troupe of journalists. She might be a media favorite herself, but she's actually here to draw attention to something else.
She's not here just to show her face and have her picture taken. The Queen being here shows that the head of state supports our development policy and helps those who implement it in the field, the aid workers and the NGOs. At the same time, it gives us a level of visibility that we would never be able to achieve without her. For our aid workers, the visit is a show of affection, solidarity and support, and she gives them guidance too.
The former journalist has learned how to ask questions and also how to listen, skills that serve her well in her job as queen.
Entonces ha sido realmente una trayectoria muy.
She's had a really interesting career. She's a woman who carries out her role and also understands the influence that she has in certain areas. This is why we like to involve her as much as possible. She knows where she can make an impact.
Así que lo usamos al máximo posible.
In one of the oldest royal houses, and once the most powerful, on special occasions, the Spanish monarchy pulls out all the stops. China's president at his visit in Madrid. State visits are part of the royal couple's core business. Felipe VI became Spain's head of state in 2014. Letizia has the title of queen, but only her husband holds the highest office.
It's the king who has the power to represent the country, but it's much more effective if they do it together. At the same time, King Felipe represents a new era. So the question is, what does that mean for the role of the queen?
There's nothing written about it in the Spanish constitution, but expectations are high. Unlike a president's wife, the Queen's role of First Lady is for life. And constantly being in the public eye requires discipline and a thick skin. The monarchy has to prove itself, and so does the Queen. Merely being a figurehead, producing an heir and being the royal consort, those days are over.
Hoy en día, el verdadero reto de una reina es transmitir.
Today, queens are faced with the challenge of proving that they are of benefit to society and that lots of things would be worse off without them. How do they do that?
¿Cómo lo demuestran? Bueno, pues
By becoming a spokesperson for issues that otherwise wouldn't get the attention that they deserve. You can have such an incredible impact. When a queen takes up a cause, there's just no stopping it.
Queen Letizia spends 20% of her time representing the crown. She shakes hands with people from all over the world, awards small prizes and big ones too. It's her job to show Spain's best side wherever she goes, for an annual salary of around 130,000 euros and an extra budget for expenses. 80% of the time she sets her own agenda.
You all know very well that these things happen because Europe plays an essential role.
Health, nutrition, education, young people and women are her top priorities.
I'm sure it's not easy being queen. It must be very hard. The king has been trained for it. His mother taught him ever since he was born. But the queen was a working woman who practically overnight took on a responsibility that she hadn't been prepared for. I think that she's had to work very hard, and that effort is bearing fruit.
In private, the king and queen are an equal couple, a pretty normal family. A morning at home with the Bourbons. The daughters have to go to school, the parents to the office.
¿Tú no tienes un examen, no, Sofía?
Qué suerte.
For Letizia, too, it's a daily struggle to find the balance between work and family.
Y además es algo que habla mucho en conversaciones privadas.
She talks a lot about that in private. She also asks journalists how they manage to find that balance. Her daughters spend most of the day at school. Then the Queen has time for office work in the Zarzuela Palace, correspondence, preparing speeches, checking invitations, carrying out appointments and preparing documents.
Her royal role calls for political restraint, but at the Woman Award in 2015, an awards ceremony for strong women, she called out certain shortcomings: illiteracy, child marriage, domestic violence, unequal opportunities, the gender pay gap.
Every girl, wherever in the world she's born, should be able to choose her own path in life.
That
was a groundbreaking statement. She's a European queen, a modern queen, who has the courage to speak her mind. She says, "We know what's going on in the world and that a lot of it is completely unacceptable. And we're going to do something about it."
Is the Queen overstepping the line? She has to tread carefully and can't get involved in politics, but she can send out signals.
The Queen is convinced that we must give women a better education. Investing in girls' education will change the world. She's very aware of that. It's not just an attitude that she has, it's what the Queen stands for. And in the future, she'll be doing that even more.
Every year, Letizia opens the new school year, accompanied by politicians and the press. 2018 at a primary school in Oviedo, in the northwest of Spain, home to racing driver Fernando Alonso and also Queen Letizia herself.
We were told that the Queen didn't want to disturb the school day too much and that we could decide for ourselves what we wanted to show her. She was open to everything and only asked us not to make a big fuss about her visit. She wanted everything to be as natural as possible. It's
not that easy.
como recibir una persona importante que viene.
Bueno, nos pusimos elegantes para cuando fuese a venir.
Yo creía que era un poco más vieja, pero es muy guapa.
It's a big day for the little Spaniards and a boost for the education policy.
The fact that the Queen cares about education means that the official authorities also have to care about it. Her interest kind of paves the way. She has the Minister of Education in tow, and she's only here because the Queen is here. She puts the subject on the agenda, and if we get more financial support thanks to the Queen and the ministers and all of that, then the visit has done what it was meant to do.
Letizia, a middle-class girl, also benefited from a good education. She seems to have been born with the journalist gene. Her father and grandmother are well-known greats on Asturian radio. At the age of 9, Letizia used to host weekly radio plays and do the voiceover for her own music chart.
De nuevo las pequeñinas de Antena 3 Asturias. Comienza el columpio. Y en nombre hoy de Eva, Marta y Telma, tenemos 2 bajas como veis. Os saluda Letizia.
After studying in Madrid, her first job led her to CNN as a reporter.
Esa zona del hombre que goza y que sueña cuando cree. Letizia Ortiz, CNN Plus, Madrid.
Her career takes off. She wins several prizes, including one as the best journalist under 30. In 2000, she signs a contract with the public TV station.
She was an all-purpose journalist, one who was always available and willing to travel to any country to report on crises and any other events. She was completely independent, and it can't be easy for someone like that to become part of the royal family and to have to adhere to protocol. It was difficult for her to adapt and to give up her freedoms.
Costó un esfuerzo, sobre todo costó renunciar a tu libertad.
But for now, she doesn't tell anyone that her life is about to change completely. As presenter of the country's main news show, almost everyone knows her face, but no one knows what's going on behind the scenes.
There was only one thing I noticed back then. She would come into the office looking a little fancier than normal. Before that, she used to wear jeans. She was always well-dressed, but casual. And then that summer, I also saw her wearing dresses. I was a bit surprised by that, but that was all. We had no idea that she was with the Crown Prince.
Nada más, o sea, nunca supimos que estaba saliendo con el príncipe.
También en la tercera edición del telediario y en la 2 Noticias. Que pasen un feliz fin de semana.
Hasta lunes.
She's on screen for the final time on the 31st of October 2003. When she announces her engagement, she gives up her job and moves out of her flat on the same day.
Her flat would have been under siege. It would have been impossible. There was just so much expectation. To make sure that she was safe and to protect her from the huge media storm, she was taken to the Zarzuela Palace.
May the 22nd, 2004, the journalist Letizia Ortiz becomes the Crown Princess of Spain. For the first time, a Spanish heir to the throne marries a commoner, one with a professional career and a divorce behind her. A novelty in the venerable old royal family, and maybe an opportunity too.
The fact that the king married a commoner was good for the monarchy. Quite aside from the fact that he chose her because he loved her, without a doubt. Maybe the nobility can't, but most of Spanish society can identify much better with a Spanish woman like her. She knows the country's problems from first-hand experience. She earned her own living, and her family comes from mainstream society.
But her role reversal has been the subject of a heated debate. Ironically, the media has become her fiercest opponent. Every step is scrutinized. Her background, clothing, and character are the subject of countless reports and speculations.
Perhaps it's just terrible prejudice to say that jealousy is the strongest feeling that exists in Spain. But part of the rejection that she's facing now probably does have to do with jealousy. People are especially critical and demanding of the Queen because she doesn't belong to the Spanish aristocracy or to a European royal family. You might expect the public to be more tolerant for that very reason, more yielding and more compassionate when it comes to mistakes and slip-ups. But far from it.
The Crown Prince couple don't let that put them off their stride. The first project on her own agenda is dedicated to a topic that had so far received little attention.
I remember on the 4th of December 2008, when she received us at Zarzuela Palace. She asked us about the needs of people and families living with rare diseases in Spain. The person we met was very warm and a wonderful listener. She made us feel like she wanted to know everything. She was by our side to listen to our problems, and she wanted to try to help.
There are over 7,000 known so-called rare diseases affecting 3 million Spaniards and 350 million people worldwide. In Letizia, they find an attentive ear.
I myself am the father of a girl who was diagnosed with one of those rare diseases. With the Queen at our side, we've managed to change society. 10 years ago, the topic simply wasn't talked about. The sick were invisible. But the Queen has given them a face. The topic of rare diseases has been pushed right up the political agenda thanks to her.
Her opinion counts.
Dear friends, dear geniuses, there are many reasons why I consider myself lucky to be here today. One of them is that I can ask for things. For example, to ask public institutions, companies and the media never to forget what it means to have a rare disease that is difficult to diagnose. This attention, this lasting, genuine, effective commitment is what we owe to the sick and to those who have passed away. Like Celia.
Pero Celia, mi hija tuvo la oportunidad también de conocer a Su Majestad la Reina.
Celia had the chance to meet the Queen, but my daughter couldn't speak. For me and for all of my relatives, her compassion meant a lot.
The people who meet Letizia in person always mention the warmth of her personality. The public's view, however, is very different. She's constantly compared to her mother-in-law. Even today, Queen Sofia is still the most popular member of the royal family. It almost makes you forget that at the beginning, Spain didn't give her an easy time either.
Queen Sofia has won Spain's affections. Appearance by appearance, journey by journey, gesture by gesture. But it was actually many years before the public recognized her and before she found that place where she could be of service to society.
As a princess of Greece and Denmark, Sofia was considered a natural candidate for the role of queen. She had to prove herself as mother of the nation in difficult times and national emergencies.
The people got to know her during certain events in Spanish history where she showed a real warmth and closeness to the common man. So on the one hand, there was a more formal Queen Sofia, and on the other hand, there was a Queen Sofia who knew how to connect with people on a very simple, natural and spontaneous level. People never forgot that.
She's a role model for her daughter-in-law. Sofia knows from her own experience all too well that being queen can have its setbacks, even though she doesn't talk about it. For almost 40 years, she was the mother of the nation at Juan Carlos's side, until the office passed over to her son, Felipe. And Letizia took over as Spain's new queen. The 19th of June 2014, on the day Felipe is proclaimed king, Letizia is the first commoner to become queen in Spanish history. Felipe announces that he stands for a new monarchy in a new age.
Una monarquía renovada para un tiempo nuevo.
With this woman at his side, he seems to be on the right course.
Her former career has shaped her character and her view of the world. Things are changing so fast right now. Being able to perceive those changes and to understand where they come from and where they will lead is incredibly useful. And Queen Letizia can do that.
Felipe and Letizia have been in office since 2014. A new monarchy needs to tackle new issues. Digitalization, equal rights and climate change are now royal issues too.
Muy buenas tardes, les habla el rey.
There's also a new generation that demands to be recognized. A foundation set up by Catalan entrepreneurs aims to improve educational and career opportunities for young people.
I was working with the foundation when they were still prince and princess. They spent 2 days with the young people, helping, motivating and inspiring them. Now they're the king and queen, they have a very busy schedule. But we still know we can count on them, and that's an extra motivation for these young people.
Su Majestad, la Reina.
A royal appearance in the midst of a tricky situation. Almost a third of Spain's young people can't find a job. The foundation can at least give a helping hand to a few thousand kids and young entrepreneurs, and there's even a prize too. All the Queen can do is to offer her support.
The Queen being there was a very big deal for me. Getting that kind of recognition gives me the incentive to carry on working. Entrepreneurship always has its ups and downs, but that encourages me to keep on going.
Letizia wants to decide for herself which causes to promote. Politics isn't part of her job description, but her choices have consequences.
It's a cause that the government didn't see as very important, so I never imagined that the Queen would be interested. We are a small organisation. We do many great things, but we are very small.
The organisation we are talking about advocates for the protection and reintegration of prostitutes. Spain has the third highest rate of prostitution in the world. Exploitation and slavery are also big issues.
The Queen immediately understood how she could help us. She worked out where things were missing. It was great. With her as our ambassador, we would be able to reach a level that would never be possible just through our own campaigns. We want her on our side. We want her to carry on working for us, especially given her very clear stance on the issue of human trafficking.
The King supports Letizia's work, and the government has found in her an advocate for a state pact against gender-based violence. In November 2019, Letizia is awarded a prize by the General Council of the Judiciary. She steps further and further out from the shadow of her predecessor and takes over other tasks from her too.
Les voy a contar una cosa que me dijo la reina Sofía hace muchos años.
I'd like to tell you about a conversation that I had with Queen Sofia many years ago. She spoke to me in that way that she has when she's not standing in front of a microphone. So precise and so perfect, full of love and honesty, just the way she is.
Mira, Letizia, yo hago muchas cosas, pero sin duda hay una iniciativa que me ha hecho digna.
The gradual handover from queen to queen seems to be going smoothly.
Imagínense con qué respeto.
Perhaps you can imagine the respect, joy, dedication and interest that I feel to be assuming Queen Sofia's honorary presidency of the Foundation Against Drug Addiction.
De ayuda contra la drogadicción.
But not all of the images of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law show harmony between the two. Mallorca in April 2018. Just like every year, the royal family visits the Easter service in Palma. Standing in front of the cameras, Queen Letizia blocks the way when her mother-in-law tries to pose for a photo with her granddaughters.
Se olvidó. De repente, por una fracción, por un segundo,
she forgot for a split second who she was. She made a mistake.
Se equivocó.
A queen always has to be aware of her role. That's what's expected of her. But the whole thing got really out of hand.
The media pounces on the incident. There is talk of brutality and aggression in the newspapers at home and abroad. Letizia had shown her true colours. And social media is even more ruthless.
Es una escena que no fue afortunada para ella, ni mucho menos.
It was a really unfortunate moment for her. But the way she was treated in the media, the amount of ink wasted in the newspapers, the tweets, it was completely out of proportion.
Creo que fue excesivo.
The new monarchy feels the force of the new media.
Sí, sí le duele, sí.
Of course she was upset. That's only normal. Imagine if you make a mistake at work or in your relationship. You say something you shouldn't have said, and you immediately regret it. It was just the same for her. She's only human.
The Queen learns that even the smallest gestures count and that they transmit a message.
En esta época dominada por las redes sociales,
in an age dominated by social networks, every move you make, every outfit, every glance is immediately subject to fierce scrutiny. It's ruthless. The Queen is actually exposed to a kind of media pressure that didn't exist with Queen Sofia. And frankly, I don't know how long anyone can put up with it.
In the Italian capital, the red carpet is rolled out for the Queen of Spain. Politicians and officials from all over the world meet in Rome for World Food Day. Letizia, Special Ambassador to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, makes a clear statement.
Su Majestad Dona Letizia, Reina de España.
The United Nations predictions about our health are indeed worrying. Every action counts. Every intervention is important. We have the opportunity to improve the lives of millions of people. Thank you very much.
The visit to Rome is a perfect example of the profession Queen. 11 o'clock, visit to the Royal Academy of Spain and photo session with recipients of the Art Scholarship. 11:30, welcoming by the director and guided tour through a current exhibition. 12 o'clock, conversation with scholarship recipients and photo session with staff. 1 o'clock, return to World Food Day and lunch without the presence of the media. 2 o'clock, tour through the exhibition Zero Hunger and a selfie for the photo wall. 3 o'clock, visit to the panel discussion involving people in solutions for the planet. 3:30, meeting with the Spanish staff of the Food and Agriculture Organization and final photo session. 4 o'clock, departure and return flight to Madrid.
When she goes to a meeting, whether it's about nutrition, the environment, or air pollution, her being there reinforces the importance of the event. It raises the level. She understands the topics, and sometimes, just like a journalist, she asks us really tricky questions.
Even when a powerful president thwarts the goals she's fighting for, she has to smile when he sends an invitation. It's in the national interest.
The government decides where the king and queen go and what they do, and the queen is very disciplined about fulfilling all of her duties. You're always going to get on with certain people better than others. That's only natural. But she always remains professional. Behind closed doors, you might notice that she likes certain people more than others. But when it comes to representing the country, she's very careful to always behave impeccably.
And that also means following old traditions, sometimes being more the king's consort than a queen, and simply cutting a good figure at her husband's side. In her first 5 years as queen, she took 53 trips abroad and received 32 heads of state in Madrid. Her impressive diamond jewellery dates from the turn of the century.
At that time, jewels were even more important. They were considered an asset. They weren't just an expense, quite the opposite. They were an investment, an heirloom, something that would always remain with the crown.
Spain at the start of the 20th century. Their last colonies have been lost. The country's development lags behind. The magnificent buildings erected by Spain's rulers are the only reminders of the strength of the former world power. The marriage of King Alfonso XIII to the British Princess Victoria Eugenia was to mark the promising start of a new era. He gave her the legendary Fleur de Lis tiara, which is now worn by Letizia.
In the royal household, it was called La Buena. It's the most important and the most special tiara that belongs to the royal house. And best of all, it is still in fashion today.
Nevertheless, Victoria Eugenia was never happy in her new home. Women, including the Queen, didn't have much of a say in Spain at that time. And while the king revealed himself to be quite a playboy, she suffered under the rigid structures at the royal court. The couple grew apart.
It was because of their clash of cultures, to some extent, and their very different ways of life. King Alfonso had many virtues, but many vices too. And Spanish society, including the aristocracy, was very insular. I think that Spanish aristocratic life was simply too claustrophobic for Queen Victoria Eugenia.
Victoria Eugenia outlived her husband by almost 3 decades. He left her a huge mountain of treasure. They said that each time he had an affair, he gave her a piece of jewellery. Victoria Eugenia ordered that these jewels were only ever to be worn by a queen. One of them is the Fleur de Lis tiara. Letizia is the first really happily married queen to ever have worn it. Yet another royal symbol that is changing with the times, on the head of a queen who is her husband's equal. The monarch's Christmas speech is the only one written independently by the royal house.
Buenos días.
The whole family is involved in organizing it.
Buenos días.
Buenas noches.
Good evening. I'm here to wish you all a Merry Christmas. And together with the Queen, the Princess of Asturias and the Infanta Sofia, send you our best wishes for the new year.
The crown is facing major challenges. Support for the monarchy is waning, especially among young people. And a large part of the population of Catalonia wants to break away completely from the Kingdom of Spain.
The road cannot once again lead to confrontation and exclusion.
The king appeals for national unity, including in the face of terrorism from Islamic fundamentalists.
The people of Spain are well aware that we can only defeat them with democratic unity, the strength of the rule of law, and the effectiveness of international cooperation. Europe, and with it Spain, is facing global challenges, and these cannot be met with weakness or division, but with the strength of unity.
The royal family fulfills its duties. The crown as symbol of unity and arbiter of the nation, as laid out in the Constitution.
El problema número uno de España es la unidad del país.
Spain's main problem is maintaining its unity.
Que de alguna manera está por encima.
The fact that there is an institution that rises above disputes and divisions and acts for society as a whole, that helps to remind us of the values of the Constitution.
Their daughters will live by those same values. They're being trained for their future profession, especially the older daughter, Leonor, Princess of Asturias, who one day will succeed her father to the throne. On her 13th birthday, she reads from the Constitution, which came into force 40 years ago.
España se constituye en un Estado social y democrático de derecho, que propugna como valores superiores de su ordenamiento jurídico. La forma política del Estado español es la monarquía parlamentaria.
Y ese día se vio perfectamente cómo la reina.
It was clear that the Queen and her daughter must have practiced those words over and over again.
Y en la grabación de estas imágenes se puede ver también la cara de
You could see that in the satisfied face of the Queen after the princess finished giving that perfect performance.
de la Constitución de una forma perfecta.
In Oviedo, Letizia's hometown, the prestigious Princess of Asturias Award is granted each year for outstanding achievement in sport, science or culture. It's a place that Letizia, together with her husband, is always happy to revisit.
Su
Their presence and their support are crucial to this prize. The Queen has a very special relationship with it. Firstly, because she's from Asturias, but also because she's a journalist who reported on the award ceremony herself. And she's the Queen of Spain and mother of the Princess of Asturias. It's an unbeatable combination.
In 2018, one of Letizia's dreams comes true. She meets one of the award winners, someone she admires, for a one-to-one meeting. Oscar winner Martin Scorsese. Now it's the veteran filmmaker's turn to be the center of attention.
It was a meeting between a film fan and a film legend. When we entered the room, everyone started to clap. And she did the same thing. She started clapping. She really enjoyed it. She was hanging on his every word. She's a huge film buff.
The express train between Madrid and Valladolid. Traveling in the first-class carriage, the Queen, her closest employee, and a member of the government. Valladolid was once the capital of the Spanish Empire. Today, it's the location of an international film festival. Letizia is once again using her influence to support a niche project. There's no sign of blockbusters or red carpets here. The Queen loves art house films, like the classic silent film Safety Last, accompanied by a live orchestra.
Efectivamente, ella es una mujer muy bien leída, es una mujer culta.
She's a very educated woman with political expertise and a lot of understanding for current trends. I feel like she conveys opinions to the king that might not reach him otherwise. And he can share his worries and hopes with her. Together, they are one. They work as a unit.
According to a recent survey, support for the monarchy is back up to 62% in Spain. In 2014, less than half of the country were in favor of the royal family.
They're a modern couple. They're professionals. They understand society well. They represent a modern Spain and want to deliver what people expect of them.
Letizia, in particular, has learned how it feels to be under close scrutiny.
I hope that she'll continue to fight for what she stands for. She can give a voice to people who might not otherwise be heard. I believe that that's what she wants to do. And if they'll let her, she'll do it with all her heart.
Profession Queen. It's a job for life, that's for sure.